Well, it's no secret that I'm a big fan of the X-Men, and especially the Jim Lee era, which inspired, I think, the animated series, or at least the outfits worn in the animated series, and that trickled over into my action figure collecting, with this era being the one that really appealed to me. Now, as I was kind of reshuffling my shelf, getting ready for the last few figures I need, like Banshee on his way, I noticed that the coloring isn't actually as uniform as I used to think it was, looking at figures I've got early in my collecting and later on. Most are in bright orangish, but there's also figures that are popping up in yellow. And, well, I guess there's always going to be a market for doing a tool in multiple colors. And while this is definitely a gold mine for Hasbro to re release all of the older X-Men figures for people who maybe have missed them the first time around, the real question is which color scheme actually is correct? Should they be in yellow? Should they be in orange? I mean, it is the blue and gold team. Well, let's dive in because we're talking about X-Men color schemes and how they get applied to toys from content. All right, so looking at the animated series, everything was brightened up, and we know that things that might have been gold in comic books became yellow because, well, we know from both their actual color documentation from the cells, the animation, that all of the characters were wearing bright yellow, versus in the comic books they were known as the blue and gold team. So one would think that they would be wearing blue and gold, and many of the characters are wearing blue and what could be seen as gold, or could be seen as yellow. So that's where a lot of the confusion comes from. Are the characters wearing yellow? Are they wearing gold? I wish we could use this shot with Jubilee, but she's not wearing her coat, which we know is yellow. Now, this version of their costumes, we know we are looking at yellow because, well, oh, but then it looks the same as the gold. Okay, let's go back. This one, blue and yellow, well, we know that this is yellow. And we can use this as a benchmark for yellow in this era, since these are meant to be updated costumes of the original 1960s costumes, which were absolutely blue and yellow, despite the fact that the current team was known as the blue and gold team. Now, I personally think the more orangish yellow, that is more goldish, really pops and works really well. I think the yellow is a bit more mute and not as powerful, shall we say. Now, there are characters that obviously do wear yellow. I talked about Jubilee earlier in her coat. Siren, another example, her outfit actually is more, yellow, if you will, as opposed to the gold of the blue and gold part of the X-Men. She's a member of X-Force. All right, this really only leaves characters like Morph, who have only been put out in the animated style, although for my figure I removed the cell shading with some nail polish remover very carefully. But going back to the animated series, you can see that, yes, like Cyclops in yellow and Jean is in more of an orange. And that's kind of the issue, because is she? There's other reference where she and Scott, or, Jean and Cyclops, whatever names we want to use for them, are wearing the same shade. Now, her release came with a yellow Wolverine and a yellow Cyclops, and she was wearing more of that gold orange that matches the rest of the X-Men team. Morph, as I mentioned earlier, has only been released in an animated series release, so he has that yellow that all the characters got. That's how I tend to look at it, is yellow represents the animated series look, and that more orangish gold, like all the other characters in this shot have, represents the comic look. And even throwing Jubilee in there with her, yellow coat, yes, she's wearing a yellow coat. Everyone else is wearing gold. Now, obviously, yellow allows re-releases and characters from other toy lines to seamlessly blend in, but that's not the point. The point is, what color should they be in? Are we looking at animated figures? Are we looking at figures based on the artwork, comic book? And at least I think the silver lining is the vast majority of characters have now all been released with the orangish yellow, shall we call it, the gold yellow. So at least outside of Morph, we don't have this mix and match where, some characters are one or the other. Unless, of course, you want Cyclops to be in his jacket look, or Wolverine to have his bone claws, which have only been released in yellow. Now, again, looking at the art, the yellow, the gold, it's hard to see a difference. There's a lot of heritage with yellow from, the 60s and 70s. I wish we could use Jubilee as a Rosetta Stone because one could say her yellow jacket is yellow, but then looking back at the comics, you can see it's colored the same color as Wolverine's outfit, which should be this orangish. Again, Scott and Jean, sometimes they do look like they're wearing the same color, and other times it looks like Jean is distinctly wearing more of an orangish outfit, kind of like how Rogue has green. She's kind of like another Hans jacket issue, really, where even though the prop was one color, the toy was another, and people's memories and shade, lighting on set. And finally, Hasbro just said, you know what, we're going to do brown and blue because some people think it's brown, some people think it's blue. Why not cash in and do both? That's really, honestly, a great solution for everybody. Company wins, they sell more toys. Collectors win, they get what they want. So, yeah, could we get an all yellow version of all of the X-Men? Obviously, for characters like Jubilee and Siren who have yellow in their outfit, it blends them in seamlessly, and it allows for all of the characters then to get a re-release because a lot of these figures haven't been on shelf for a while. And with X-Men coming back in both the animated and theatrical MCU edition, yeah, it's probably a good time to do that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I don't know, how do you read them? Do you see it as gold, as yellow? Love to know your thoughts. It's always been something that, does it keep me up at night? Maybe not up at night, but, it's one of those thoughts that circulates during lunchtime. All right, thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and I'll see you guys in the next one.